It's my pleasure to welcome our next speaker, which is Urza. He's a Czech speaker, but gonna help this session in English. The name of the session is Being Right is Not Enough, which I'm really excited to hear about. But at first, let me introduce him a bit. Urza is an anarcho-capitalist, author and educator, and educator at the self-directed school Ježek bez Klece. He has authored the first, and as far as I know, the most popular book, Czech book on anarcho-capitalism. He's written over 1,000 libertarian texts for online and print media. For more than 15 years, Urza has been exploring, writing, and speaking about freedom, education, free markets, and the role of state in the society through lectures, debates, and video content. He co-founded and runs the Czech and Slovak Ludwig von Mises Institute and is a board member of Svoboda Učení Association. Together with his student Emma from Ježek bez Klece, he manages Svobodný přístav and collaborates with various libertarian activities. You can learn more about his work at urza.cz. So, glad to see you here and welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. I'm glad that you are so many here. And before I start, I just need to tell you that talking in English is a big challenge for me. And I did a very big step out of my comfort zone. And also I feel quite bad physically now, so be tolerant to my presentation. So, what we will be talking about? What we will be talking about? It's somehow broken. Sorry. This. What am I going to talk about? First, I want to tell you a story about Hungarian doctor Ignác Filip Semmelweis, and we will see what can be learned from his story. Then I want to talk about seeking the truth and the limits of marketing. And I want to end it by telling you a story of Hippasus. It's a guy who was living like more than 2,000 years ago. So, let's start with Dr. Semmelweis. It was Hungarian doctor, obstetrician. Obstetrician is the doctor who is giving a birth. I didn't know the word, I found it out for this presentation. And he studied the epidemic of puerperal fever, which is illness, which is very deadly for mothers, new mothers, as long as they didn't have antibiotic back then. So, he noticed that the infection is spreading in mothers touched by medics. You know, like there was such a hospital he was working in, and there was many departments, and he found out that at some department there are students coming from autopsy room, not washing their hands because it was 19th century and they didn't know bacteria. So they weren't washing hands, and on that places the mothers were dying. As well as his colleague died of sepsis because of scalpel injury. Some of his students cut to his finger. It was just accident, but the doctor died of sepsis. And Dr. Semmelweis put those things together and find out that the autopsy room are making the infection to people, and he just wanted. I'm trying to put there more slides, and it's somehow broken. So he just wanted his students to wash their hands, and yes, and it helped. So it looked like a great story, but there wasn't such happy end. I'm still fighting this because it's just somehow not working. However, when he told to his colleagues, they were quite outraged, and they just laughed at him that it's not possible. is because if he was right, if he was right, it would mean that they are also responsible for that, what's going on in that hospital. Like, because, you know, if you are telling the doctors you are responsible for those dead mothers, they are, of course, rejecting to accept it. And one of them committed a suicide after it happened to be true, so it was very hard for them. And he got really pissed, and he wrote them letters, and he was calling them ignoramuses and irresponsible killers of mothers, and fools and stupid idiots. And this was quite hard between them. And because he became so unbearable for the people around him, he ended up at psychiatry, where he was tormented to death. Well, he died also because he was ill, but it was 19th century, so the psychiatrists, they were treating him there very, very badly, and he died there after 2 weeks. So it's not happy end at all. And I've heard this story from several libertarians, and the point why they were telling it to me was always the same, like some futility. Like humanity refuses to learn, or people rather kill than face the truth, or for us, like we libertarians are martyrs like Dr. Semmelweis. Yeah, so I'm sorry for this because I'm clicking it and it sometimes do nothing and then it happened at once. Okay. So the point of it was usually like everything is terrible and not washing hands for the libertarians is something like the States, you know, like Dr. Semmelweis knew that the washing hands helped, but nobody was listening to him. And we libertarians know that the state is bad. We have Mises, Hayek, Rothbard, and know those arguments, but we are not so much listened to. So the point is that those guys like see themselves as Dr. Semmelweis. And it raises a good question, like, are we libertarians like Dr. Semmelweis? And perhaps yes, at least we believe so, but we can't know for sure until we verify it in reality. Because many people think about themselves as modern days Dr. Semmelweis, you know, like you are just not heard because the other people just don't accept your truth, but you are right. However, many of the people, and maybe even most of them, are not heard simply because they are just wrong, you know. So I think this is good to know. Like we can feel like, okay, we are the right ones, but in reality it might be like we are just wrong and we can't see it, and that's why we are not heard. So what does this tell us? What can we do with that? And what if we are right? And what if we are not right? So let's discuss our possibilities. Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm not looking too. I would prefer that, but I don't know what these slides are doing, so I'm checking that all the time. So, what if we are wrong? If we are wrong, we want to find it out as soon as possible, logically. Because if our beliefs would be wrong, we want to do something else than, for example, LibertyCons. So, what is our main obstacle in this task, in knowing that we are wrong? I think that it's our certainty that we are not wrong. If we are sure that we are right, this is, I think, much bigger problem than lack of information or skill or whatever. Because as long as we are sure we are right, we are tending to not listen. And if we listen, we just hear what we want to hear. And this is a problem, because if we are wrong, we are ensuring ourselves in it. So, what we need to do if we are wrong? We need to truly accept that we can be wrong. And as I say, truly accept, I don't mean just say, yes, of course, everybody can be wrong, I can be wrong. Yeah, I don't mean this. I mean like really feel it, really live it, really have it in yourself, like all the time, like you might be wrong. And it's not like you would be sure that you are wrong. No, no, no. But just to know that there is this possibility that you can be wrong. And so if you are wrong, probably you need to fully accept it. So the other option is, what if we are right? If we are right, what can we learn from Dr. Semmelweis' story? I call this talk, Being Right is Not Enough. And I think this is what Dr. Semmelweis can teach us. Because being right is really not enough if we call our colleagues irresponsible murderers, if we don't respect others, even in cases when they are wrong, and if we are not able to communicate our knowledge to the other people. You know, it's nice to be right, but it's not enough as long as you live in society and you need something from that society. You need to be also able to pass your knowledge to the other people. And it's easy to say that those people are dumb fools, but even if they were, those mothers might have lived if Dr. Semmelweis would share his knowledge in a different way. I think this is very important to know. I think this is much more important for our libertarians than like, we are martyrs, people are terrible. Like, I think Dr. Semmelweis can teach us a lot. So the question is, what is the best way to convince someone? Well, either you can insult him, mock him, laugh at him, scold him, yeah, or you can passionately explain him where he is wrong. What do you think? What's a better way? Second one. Okay, and what if I told you that this is false dilemma? Well, those are not only two ways how you can communicate to people. Even if the second one is probably better than the first one, I think they both suck. Because people don't want to be taught like at school. People want to be heard. People want to be understood. And if we just try to convince them, we are lowering the chance that we pass our knowledge to them. Because if we talk to them like with equal partners, if we are just talking to them, not like I am going to tell you how it is, but let's go to find out together how it is. This have much better results. So, if we are right, we need to truly accept that we can be wrong. So, allow me a brief recap. If we are wrong, we need to truly accept that we can be wrong. And if we are right, we need to truly accept that we can be wrong. I think this is really important. And this is not something what we are doing for the others. This is what we are doing for us. Because we want more freedom in society, not those other people we are talking to. So this is something what we are doing for us, for libertarians, not for the rest of the society. And if we do something, there is very important also why we do it. Not just what we do, but also why. I mean, our motives truly matter. Let me explain. If we honestly seek the truth in the dialogue, two things happened. At first, we are much better in learning. Of course, that's logical. If we are seeking the truth, we can better learn. But we are also much more effective in communicate our knowledge, in sharing our wisdom. Because, you know, if somebody comes and he wants to do something explained, just let's do it and explain. But our opponents usually don't want to be taught like at school, you know? And if we try to do that, we lower our chances that we pass our message. And if we try to understand them and take them seriously, I think our chances rise. As we disrespect the opponent, we easily miss his point. And we don't understand. But the better we understand, the more we can learn. This is obvious. The better I understand the person who is talking to me, the better I can learn. But also, the better I understand, the more relevantly I can talk to him. This is really important. Like, the better I understand my opponent, the better I can talk to him. And I will show you example what's opposite of it. What counters the truth seeking. I think the push to convince, the one-way communication, in other words, marketing. And what are the limits of marketing? Like, marketing is great for some things. If you want people to do something or buy something or even start a dialogue, then marketing is a great tool. However, in dialogue itself, I think the marketing harms just for the reasons I just told you. Because marketing doesn't question our goals, but we need to question our goals all the time. And the effort to win, not to find the truth, is counterproductive. And I am not telling you here about the strategy. I'm talking about mindset. I don't mean like, if you want to convince someone, you should pretend that you are not convincing him to convince him. This is not what I am telling you. And this is something what you can feel of it, but it's absolutely not there. Because people can feel what is behind what you are doing. Like, as I said, it's not just what you do, it's also why you do that. So I'm talking about mindset of the truth seeking, like you really want to seek the truth. And the truth seeker's mindset is really important here. And how to become a seeker of truth? Well, at first, I would say, let's be honest with ourselves. Yes, let's be honest with ourselves. So, like, what do we really want? Why are we doing that? We can have many motives. Truth-seeking can be one of them, but we also might want a lot of other stuff, like to win or to defeat or to confirm our assumption or to put ourselves to some roles like martyrs or saviors or whatever. And as long as I just don't accept that I have some of these motivations, I can't change them. The first thing I need to do if I want to change something is to just admit that it's going on. So I think the honesty is the necessary first step. Then we also need to be able to admit our mistakes. And admitting mistakes might be hard for somebody, but I don't think it's the hardest part. Because, you know, if you know you are mistaken, to say, I'm mistaken, it's still the conscious part. But there is also subconscious part. And the subconscious part is identifying the mistakes, you know? Because if you really don't want to be mistaken, and it's exactly what the schools are teaching us, like mistakes are bad, so you don't want to be mistaken, then you just don't see those mistakes. Because this is blocking you from seeing them. This is blocking your unconscious part is blocking your conscious part to see those mistakes. And what to do with it? My personal way is enjoy mistakes. Find joy in them. Learn this. This is helping me. Because when I do some mistake, I try to distinguish between the mistake itself and the consequences of that mistake. Like, the mistake itself, like the consequences can be bad. I do mistakes and I bear some consequences which can be hard for me, but the mistake itself is opportunity to learn, and it's something that can make you happy. And you really can do it. It's just reverting the process what school did into you. And now I'm really enjoying my mistakes. I'm happy of them. When somebody tells me, Urza, you are not right, and he explains me why, I'm like, wow, thank you. And this is also the result of some hard work, and it can be done. We need to admit that emotions modify our thinking a lot. And this is nothing we can do with. We can just accept it. I think this is big mistake objectivists are doing, that they are not accepting it. But we all are incredibly much driven by emotions, and our thinking, logical thinking, is driven by emotions. So we just can't see what we don't want to see. It remains hidden. If you really don't want to see something, you just won't see that. Even if you would have it just right in front of your eyes. You just won't. You can ignore it. So this is another point. And also, I think it's important to learn to be humble and respect our opponents. Because, and what's helping with it, I think that people are much less stupid than they seem to us. We can also say that they are much smarter than they seem to us. This is the same, but I'm writing it like this because some people are tending to say like, people are stupid, they are sheeps and so on. I hear it so many times in libertarian group like, oh my God, those sheeps, look at them. Well, I have such a story. It's something what happened to me and I learned a lot from it. I modified it a bit to make it better for talking about it, but historian meet system admin. You know, IT men and men who studies history. They had a talk and the system admin find out that the historian has email password 12345. And the historian find out that the system admin just don't know when the World War II were, in which years, like when it was. So they both talked together and they left the meeting like, I just met an idiot. And what did I realize because I was talking with both of the people and it was quite funny. I realized that if we are interested in something, it means two things. At first, we know more about it, logically. Because it's interesting for us, we gather information about it, so we know more than average person. And at second, if we are interested in something, we are much more often talk about it. So it means that the things we are much more often talk about are those things we know more than average people. And this is, I really love this when this come to my mind, because if we would have conversation on random topics, we would be much less smart and the other people would seem much smarter. So it means that we are living in a world and the people around us are in fact much, much smarter than it seems to us. And I think it's good, it's quite positive. And if you realize it, really, I think it's great for that respect of that opponent. Because I think we can really learn from anybody, as long as we accept that we can be wrong. Well, I have a great story for this. Like 2 weeks ago, I was at psychiatry department, closed psychiatry department. I was visiting somebody there. And those department looks like there are people who are delusional, who are just like, they are not in contact with reality, they are in psychosis and so on. There are people with depressions, but also people who are like really just, they don't see the reality. And I like that they are very authentic and they just come to you and talk to you. I love this. They were very often coming to me and telling me stuff. And I was there, waiting there, and such a woman came to me and she didn't even say hello. She just said, well, do you know that if all women would die just now, that in such case, the human race will be extinct? I said, yeah, that's logical. But he continued. She continued, and she said, but if all men would just now die immediately, the human race would survive. And in this moment, because she was obviously mentally ill, but she really was, she looked like that. I forget this, what I'm telling you here. I forget that I want to accept that I can be wrong. I was very sure that she is wrong. And I was like, tell me why. And it wasn't like why I want to know, but it was like why. And now I was absolutely sure that she will tell me something which will be absolutely not logical. And she just said, you know, if the women would die, nobody would carry the babies. But if the men would die, we still have sperma banks. And those sperm would be put into the woman and human race will survive. And this was so great. I loved it. She was so right. And she absolutely outsmarted me. And this is exactly what I'm talking here. Even if you are at psychiatry and talking with mentally ill people, try to accept that you can be wrong and they can be right. Because this was exactly the case where I was too sure and I was wrong. So this is the way how I think we can become seekers of truth. Oh, and one more thing. It's not a task to finish. It's a way to live. You know, this is not anything what can be done, even if we want to, even if we wanted to. This is something what you are just living or not, but you can accomplish it at any point. And I will tell you a few reasons why I think it's like that. Even if we try to be unbiased, we are just not. We are all the time biased. We can't be objective. No way. I painfully realize it almost every time I prepare some of my video or text or presentation or whatever, and I'm searching data on the internet. You know, because you need to make that video or presentation or talk or whatever, you have to stop at some moment with your research of data. And so you just find your data, then you find sources for the data, you can find sources for that sources, and when you find a study and it has 100 pages, there is still a lot of things you can verify and verify and verify. So it could be infinite. So you stop it at one moment. But when you stop it when the result is not suspicious to you. You know, if you find the data which are suspicious to you, you are going to check them logically because you don't want to tell bullshit. So if you are finding data and it's something like, oh, this makes no sense, you just stop the search. Well, yeah, but what does it mean that it's suspicious to you? It means that it's not fitting your worldview. So, in fact, you stop at the moment when there is nothing suspicious to you, which means it's not against your worldview, which means like you are much more checking the things which are against what you know than the things which are like together with what you know. But I think this is very important because even if you don't want to do that, you just do that because you can't just verify every sentence in every study you search. This is not possible. So somehow you are choosing what you verify. So we can't be unbiased. And I think the best thing what we can do with it is just to realize it. Also, when I say that we need to accept that we can be wrong, I mean we need to constantly accept it. Like we need to be accepting it all the time, not just once or many times. It just work for all your life. Just all the time know that you can be wrong. Just feel it in yourself. Not just like, yeah, I can be wrong, of course, but really feel it, that it's possible. And also, it's not a weakness to admit that we don't know something. And this is quite funny, because I know literally nobody who claims to know everything. I don't know such a person who would tell me, I know everything. But how does it manifest? I know a lot of people who say, yeah, nobody can know everything, but when we are in discussion, they act like they do know everything. You know, so one thing is to know that you don't know everything, and the other thing is like really feel it and act by it. So this is what I want to tell you about seeking of truth, and we are going to the story I want to finish it with, and the story about Hippasus. He discovered irrational numbers 2,500 years ago. And he discovered it by a proof that square root of 2 is an irrational number. Well, if you don't know what irrational numbers are, that doesn't matter. It's some math stuff, and let's say it's very important for today's math, but back then they didn't just know. And there was a Pythagorean brotherhood Hippasus was part of, and the Pythagorean brotherhood didn't like that. They were also very good mathematicians, and they were just very sure that there is no such thing like irrational number. Now we know that there is infinity of irrational number. There is even more that irrational than those rationals. But back then they didn't thought so, and it was very important for them that the irrational number didn't exist. And it ended by the Pythagoras is said to have had him drowned. Maybe the brotherhood did it on their initiative without Pythagoras. He got such a cult around himself. Or maybe it was some punishment for revealing some of their secret. It's just a long time ago, you know, so the story could be changed. But what we know is that Hippasus proved that root square of 2 is irrational number. We know that Pythagorean brotherhood really didn't like it, and we know that Pythagorean brotherhood drowned Hippasus. Why am I telling you another sad story? I'm trying to tell you, let's try not to end up like Hippasus. And what do I mean by that? Well, if I would prove that square root of 2 is irrational number, I would be pissing them so hard with it, the brotherhood would absolutely hate me, and they would absolutely drown me. Like, there would be no chance. I would be all the time coming like, yeah, I have proof. You know, you don't see that, but those irrational numbers really exist. I have proof. I can tell you. You know those libertarians debates. But, for example, there is sitting my girlfriend, Yitya, and if she would discover that square root of 2 is an irrational number, I would think that they wouldn't drown her. Maybe they would even thank her for that. Because she's very nice in communication, not like me. And it very much depends on how you put it. So I suppose that if he would do it some other way, not like Dr. Semmelweis style, he maybe convinced them. However, he didn't. So, some summary of those sad stories. I think we need to truly accept we can be wrong. This is very important, like feel it, truly accept it, like feel it inside. And the great thing about it is that it helps whether we are right or not. Then the marketing is great to open the dialogue, but I think it's not so good tool inside of the dialogue. I think the respect is the great tool inside of the dialogue. This is another way how this speech could be called. Seeking the truth is the best way to share it. This is something what I learned for my past 20 years of my life when I'm doing this libertarian stuff, and I think that as long as you are seeking the truth, you can pass the truth the best way. It's the best way to share it. If you simultaneously seeking the truth and passing it to other people. And yeah, it's no task to finish, it's a way to live. So, I thank you very much for being here. I also want to thank Rose, that's that redhead, for teaching me all of this. I was really absolutely unaware of this like 10 years ago, and she taught me this all. And if you want to seek the truth by asking me whatever, feel free to do so now. Thank you very much.
Take your hand and Carol will take the mic to open.
Ciao, Luca.
Ciao, Radko.
I just wanted to ask you if you can give us any examples, let's 1, 2 examples, when you really change your mind last 5 years. And let's maybe exclude your psychological and self-development and spiritual world. Let's really focus on politics, political philosophy or society issues, really one, two examples where someone really persuaded, because you're an excellent speaker and a person in a dialogue and persuading other people. So is there anybody who persuaded you in the last 2, 3 years, 5 years?
Yes, definitely. Well, there is a lot of things I just learned somehow. For example, I was anarcho-capitalist and I thought the political path is working. And now I consider myself also an anarcho-agorist because I don't believe that political path is working. And paradoxically, those people who convince me are the politics, but also others. And there is a lot of stuff. I'm changing my point of view. For example, some of you maybe read my book, and in that book I was writing something about punishing people, like in the free society, you know, anarcho-capitalist society. And some of you also were at my speech I got a few months ago. I wrote the book a few years ago, and the speech was a few months ago. And my point of view to punishments really dramatically changed. And I think there is a lot of other things which I changed my opinion. Because I think if you are just all the time constant and not changing your opinions, I think it's some indicator that something is maybe wrong because you are not learning. It would be very suspicious to me if I wouldn't be changing my opinions. So I'm still like libertarian and anarcho-capitalist, but I'm changing opinions in many things. Also about the approach to the law, where I was for a long time more like hiding the breaking the laws, and now I'm on such a path to break the law more publicly. And there's really a lot of stuff I changed my opinion about.
I would like to thank you for perfect presentation.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to add one more thing, because some of the psychological aspects that you described can be found in cognitive science, and if anybody of you Google cognitive biases in Wikipedia, you will find out that there's a whole world of mistakes of thinking that we can do, these that Urza described being some of them. So I think that there is a whole world behind what Urza said. That's one thing, and the other.
Thank you very much for telling me, because I never studied this. This is just from some I don't know experience of my life, but I will be glad to read about it more.
Cognitive biases are
Thank you.
Interesting. And what I wanted to ask you is, now that you changed your approach, how to persuade other people, how to communicate with people who are of different opinions, have you noticed any improvements in how better outcomes of your discussions with people who didn't share your anarcho-capitalist beliefs?
Yes, absolutely yes. This is something which is really it has really very powerful impact, because I'm doing this like for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. It depends what you consider as the start of it. I was writing some text on the internet and so on. And even 10 years ago, my results were very poor. And but as I said, Rose taught me a lot how to do this. And I'm more and more following this, what I was telling you here. And in last years, I can see that it's really working, in meaning like I have the institution Free Haven. It's something it's in Czech Republic, so many of you just don't know that. But we are just doing the work about libertarianism, anarcho-capitalism, and so on. And I think it's like a year or 2 years ago, where one student did his diploma work on anarcho-capitalism in Czech medias, and it raised incredibly much the word. It's even much more known in public, and he found out that that initiative Free Haven is is the biggest source of this success. So I think that So I'm happy that it's also like this in the diploma work. He was somehow analyzing it, and he found out that that initiative I found is really successful in it. So I feel the difference, because like 10 years ago I was writing on the internet, some people read it, but quite nobody knew that. And since then till now, I even came to mainstream media in Czech Republic many times, and I think the spreading of the ideas is getting much better as long as I try to really search the truth. But of course, it's something that I have to do for all my life, because still, you know, maybe some of you are discussing on the internet, and if you imagine yourself how we are writing the 50s or 100 comments into some thread, how constructive is there. So, yeah, I'm still doing this as well, even if I'm trying to not. There?
Hello, thank you for the wonderful presentation. I just wanted to ask, with being right, there is a little misconception that people tend to make, which is, if you are talking about these things and realizing it and working on it, they also expect you to never make those mistakes that you're talking about. So if you say, well, I'm trying to realize that I can be mistaken, then if you fail to realize that you are being mistaken, they tend to see it as, let's say, disproving your own theory. That either you see these things and hence you cannot make mistaken, which this does not imply. But it's important to realize that even though we all seek to do something and get to a certain point where we can accept our mistakes or just communicate in some more effective way, it's not always what happens. Yeah. And we tend to fail, you know, and sometimes we have our biases and they're important for us, they mean something to us and we don't realize how much. So even though we're saying these things and they are true, it doesn't mean that you cannot fail at this approach, and people fail at it all the time. So even if that happens, it doesn't disprove this thought, this theory, I would say. That was just my little chime in.
Yeah. This was the woman who taught me all of this, and I agree. I'm trying to do it as good as I can. But as I told you, just at the psychiatry, I absolutely failed in it. It was exactly approach. It was exactly opposite approach. There is some question. It seems urgent.
Thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask, why in current politics it seems like that the aggressive, not respectful approach in dialogue is winning over the one you've been suggesting in your presentation?
I'm sorry, can you say it once more and a bit slower?
Okay. Why it seems that in current politics it looks like that the aggressive approach in dialogue is winning over...
Thank you. Yeah, I just didn't hear the beginning. It's very simple. It's what I was saying about the limits of the marketing. Like, the marketing is great if you want people to do something or buy something, but not to search the truth. And those what politicians want are votes of the people. They don't want their opinions, and they don't want even them to think about it. They just want to vote. So the marketing is a great tool if you want the people to buy something or give you the vote or whatever like that. But it's not a good tool if you want the people to think. But the politicians usually don't want the people to think. They want to give them the vote. So the marketing is a great tool for making you to give the vote wherever, because you can have very nice pictures somewhere, tell them some... it's quite opposite of it. It's just that you want to see them the world like black and white, like you are the white, the others are the black. We sometimes see it even on the presentations here, where somebody yesterday were comparing their enemies with Sauron and Saruman and so on. And this is exactly the marketing approach, which is just making you emotionally like, yeah, I'm for you, but it's not like making you think. So that's why I think it's like that.
So I'm afraid our time is up, but we are so glad for your presentation. I can personally say that this was the one of the speeches that I would remember the most and think about in
thank
the
you.
upcoming days. So everyone, now it's a 15 minutes pause break. So some of you, I will see you in this room on the chat sessions, and the other one, you can check out what's going on the main stage or get some refreshment outside. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Oh my God. I'm really touched with it. Thank you.